What's going on, everyone? Tonight, well, it's gonna be a different kind of vlog drop. Different in the sense that it's not like necessarily. I mean, it is current news, but I don't know when I'm gonna. We'll get into it.
Black men are 2.5 times more likely to be killed by cops than white men.
They don't want us to succeed.
How much more do we have to take?
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the block, the Leon block, that is. We're back with another block drop. But what I was gonna say was I don't know what I've got here. I mean, people from my team felt this was significant enough for me to bring up and talk about. So, and I trust them. So let's see what I'm going to read and what comments I give about what I'm reading. And then we'll get into what I mean by life path. So, a man who alleged in a lawsuit that he was fired from a hospital system because he is a white man. Hold on. A man who alleged in a lawsuit that he was fired from a hospital system because he is a white man has been awarded a $10 million verdict by a North Carolina jury, according to court documents. David Duval of Michigan sued Novant Health Incorporated in 2019 after he was fired as senior vice president of marketing and communications the previous year. The fuck? Okay, so Duval said in the suit that he was terminated without cause as part of an intentional campaign to promote diversity in its management ranks, and that he was fired due to his sex and race. Novant Health, which is based in Winston-Salem, has denied those allegations. It has said in court filings that he was fired for deficient performance and the delegation of critical duties to subordinates. We are extremely disappointed in the verdict as we believe it is not supported by the evidence presented at trial, which includes our reason for Mr. Duval's termination, said a spokesperson in the statement. We will pursue all legal options, including appeal. Duval was hired in 2013, said he was fired shortly before his 5th anniversary at the company and was replaced by a black woman and a white woman. He argued discrimination in violation of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. Luke Largus, Duval's attorney, told a news station that the former executive was fired days before his 5th anniversary when he would be entitled to greater severance. Okay. The message is not to abandon diversity and inclusion, it's to do it legally, said the attorney. A federal jury trial was held this month, and the verdict was handed down Tuesday, according to court records. And this article is actually from only 2 days ago. The verdict form says the jury found that Duval's race or sex was a motivating factor in the termination, according to online federal court records. So I'm curious as to what y'all think, because the way that they make this sound, it could be either way, but it does remind y'all that, let's be clear here, white cisgender men hold the top ranks of any and everywhere, traditionally, historically, usually, most of the time, like 99.9% of the time. So I don't really care for any complaints from them. It doesn't really matter to me. Does this person maybe feel discriminated against because he was coming up to that 5-year mark? In that sense, I can understand, but at the same time, I think that also might be a matter of I don't think it's discrimination because he's white or because he's a man. I think it's probably just again performance because they wanted to get, maybe they did want to get rid of him because they were trying to, because he was coming up on his 5th year anniversary. But it might also be because of his lack of good performance. So just keep that in mind. I thought that was an interesting article. It is posted in the comments for y'all to see. A massive $88 million settlement reached with families of South Carolina's Charleston church mass shooting. The federal government will pay that total to settle the case brought by survivors of the Mother Emanuel AME shooting and families of the 9 victims murdered by a white supremacist in 2015. The individual settlements for all the victims were filed Thursday in the U.S. District Court in Columbia. It was approved by the U.S. Department of Justice. The agreement still must be finalized. For those killed in the shooting, the settlements range from $6 million to $7.5 million per claimant. For the 5 survivors, the settlements are $5 million per claimant. Plaintiffs' lawyers in the case could get up to 25% of the awards for the clients they represent. Wow. The victims of the Mother Emanuel AME church massacre you can't bring those lives back. I mean, a lot of good things can be done with the money. So that's where my focus goes. I don't know what these people going to do with the money, but 5 years in the making, the settlement arose out of lawsuits filed by victims and their families in the wake of the June 2015 murders at the historic church in downtown Charleston. When the convicted shooter, Dylann Roof, y'all remember that name? Now probably rings bells. He was sentenced to death in federal court in January 2017. Roof's motive in killing the 9 black churchgoers shot to death during an evening prayer meeting was to start a race war, according to evidence presented at his trial. A federal appeals court upheld Roof's conviction and death sentence this summer. He remains on federal death row in a maximum security facility in Indiana. The lawsuit alleged that the FBI, which had a duty to perform background checks on handgun buyers, was negligent when the agency performed a background check on Roof, who had just turned 21. And under federal law, gun buyers must undergo a computer background check at the federally licensed firearm dealer. Roof was able to buy a gun because of what critics call a weakness in the law, the so-called Charleston loophole, to buy the handgun that he used to kill all 9 with money he received from his father for his 21st birthday, evidence in the case said. Under that law, gun sellers can sell firearms to a buyer after 3 days, regardless of whether the FBI's background check has been completed. If a person faces criminal charges, the gun store must deny the buyer that purchase. In Roof's case, he was facing a narcotics charge, but the FBI failed to discover that in its search of police database. After 3 days, the gun store sold Roof the gun. As part of the settlement announced Thursday, the Justice Department admitted no fault. Dozens of attorneys, many from South Carolina, participated in settling the case. These victims were the best of us. An attorney for the victims who spoke from Washington Thursday, standing behind family members, survivors, and 2 state senators. The settlement represents one of the largest settlements in a collection of civil rights cases in the nation's history. Again, the $88 million figure is important beyond its high amount, Sellers said, who is the attorney for all the victims. It represents a number special to white supremacists because the letter H, referring to Adolf Hitler, is the 8th letter of the alphabet. Roof wore shoes with the number 88 on them. So the settlement is a rebuke to the white supremacists and racists in this country by saying we are taking this tragedy that they tried to tear this country apart with and build black communities and generational wealth. The attorney also praised Attorney General Merrick Garland and President Joe Biden for making the agreement possible and called attention to senselessness of the killings. The settlement doesn't do anything to change or alter the existing landscape of gun sales and background checks. But what it does do, it shares with everyone how significant and important a job the FBI understands their role is and how well of a job they do. I don't know about that, but it's relative to what this person thinks. This settlement is a beacon for all of us and a reminder that justice does exist. The victims' family members and survivors also spoke. Lawsuits filed by victims' families were at first dismissed by a lower federal court in South Carolina. The government had claimed immunity from such lawsuits, a position that was upheld by U.S. Judge Richard Mark Gergel. Gergel wrote that although the record reveals that the FBI's background check system is disturbingly superficial, the suits should be dismissed. There's a number of other articles attached to this. I'm not too keen on the sources, so I'll have to check through them. Like I said, people just fed me this, and I'm going down a rabbit hole as we go along. Like I said, it was a different kind of vlog drop tonight. I wanted to see what the team would come up with and throw at me and see what my reactions are. So my reaction to this thus far, because it's a long article, and again, you can read it in the comments, and click the link and check it out on your own. But I do like the significance of that number, and I think, like I said, where my mind goes with it is, what are you going to do with that money? So as long as something good comes from that money, yeah, it can't bring those lives back, but it can do something for future generations. So that's always good. DNA from Sitting Bull's hair confirms living great-grandson's ancestry. Wow, a sample of Sitting Bull's hair has helped scientists confirm that a South Dakota man is the famed 19th century Native American leader's great-grandson, using a new method to analyze family lineages with DNA fragments from long-dead people. Researchers said on Wednesday that DNA extracted from the hair, which had been stored at the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, confirmed the familial relationship between Sitting Bull, who died in 1890, and Ernie LaPointe, 73, of Lead, South Dakota. Pretty interesting. So the study represented the first time that DNA from a long dead person was used to demonstrate this familial relationship between a living individual and a historical figure, and offers the potential for doing so with others whose DNA can be extracted from remains such as hair, teeth, or bones. The researchers took 14 years to discover a way of extracting usable DNA from the hair. I wonder what other people think of this, what they think of, all this DNA stuff. I do kind of find it myself, particularly. I kind of find it cool. But I also want to know what indigenous communities feel about this. I want to know what people in general feel about. I mean, we do have to advance scientifically and understand a lot of things, and this does help us understand a lot of things, especially when it comes to ancestry. So personally, I'm all for it. Oh wow! A hospital sought a Black expert's help on how to diversify, and they fired him over his stance on race. So Joseph B. Hill was 4 days from starting a new position as Vice President, Chief Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Officer at Memorial Hermann Health System in Houston when he received an email that changed the trajectory of his career. The two-sentence note from Memorial Hermann's Human Resources Vice President, Lori Knowles, which was obtained by a news source, read, "We regret to inform you that we are rescinding the offer of employment dated July 21st, 2021. We appreciate your interest in the position and wish you much success going forward." It was a shock, said Hill. I was floored. He was dumbfounded further when his lawyer was told 2 weeks later over the phone the reasons the hospital invalidated its offer was that he was not a good fit, although he went through more than a dozen interviews over 6 weeks before he was offered the job. The lawyer was also told by the company's lawyer that it was uncomfortable with Hill inquiring about hiring staff to build his team, that Hill wanted a larger relocation budget, and that he rented and charged a luxury car to the company, and that he was overall too sensitive about race issues. The reasons they listed were just as shocking as rescinding the offer. He felt that way because he said much of what the hospital indicated was false and nonsensical, but also because they didn't even contact him to discuss their so-called issues. I can understand that. Interesting. I'm going to leave this in the comments for y'all. Make sure you are checking these out at your own leisure. And make sure you're liking and subscribing, y'all. Make sure you're telling your friends. I'd greatly appreciate it. So, last thing is I want to get into, because as you know, I'm always on this forever life journey, making sure that I'm learning, understanding, making sure I'm growing as an individual, as a being of light and dark. And talking with a friend today. Now, they had mentioned this before. And like, it was like a Facebook post, right? So like, I'm like, okay, let me go and try to do this and see how I can do it. I'm bad at math, so I can't calculate shit for shit, right? But I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try this, but maybe I had missed a step, right? Because something just didn't add up, and I was like left with two numbers. But what I was told was that like there are numbers that are two numbers, and that's okay. But I still felt like I didn't have the right number. Turns out I think I did have the right number, right? So my number, now you can Google this. You just type in, first you type in life path calculator, okay? And life path calculator. And when you Google that, it'll bring you to the calculator, and then you get your number, and then you type in life path number. So the number that I got, it'll bring you to this website, which I'll drop in the comments for y'all too. And so what I got was the life path number 8. And your life path number, if you're a life path number 8, first of all, let me backtrack real quick here, because people are like, what the fuck, life path number, what the hell is he talking about? All right, so the calculator, it basically, you take your birth date and you calculate you add your numbers together of your birth date, and it gives you a number, and that number dictates, like, it's kind of like indicative of who you are. And it's very interesting. Like, I was looking through this, I'm like, Pardos, okay, that's me. Okay, okay, even though I'm not, no, I can see, yeah, that is me. Okay, so my life path number is 8. If you have 8 as your life path number, it means that you are the can-do person. You have a natural knack for making the people around you feel secure in your efforts. This is due in part to poise and self-assurance, which walks hand in hand with speaking the truth to the best of your ability. Am I not always talking about speaking your truth? Truth to power. Let's get it. You are gifted with natural leadership and the capacity to accumulate great wealth. You have great talent for management in all areas of your life, especially in business and financial matters. You understand the material world. You intuitively know what makes virtually any enterprise work. You attract financial success more than any other life path, but effort is required. You possess the ability to inspire people to join you in your quest, but often they are incapable of seeing what you see. That sounds familiar. Therefore, those around you need your continual guidance, inspiration, and encouragement. You must prod them into action and direct them along the lines of your vision. Your challenge in life is to achieve a high degree of detachment, to understand that power and influence must be used for the benefit of mankind. Those born with the number life path who 8 who do not understand the real and relative value of money are bound to suffer the consequences of greed. They run the risk of losing it all. You must learn to bounce back from failures and defeats. You have the character and resilience of a true survivor. It is not uncommon for a person with an 8 life path to experience major reverses, including bankruptcies, financial failure, but you also have the talent and sheer guts to make more than one fortune and build many successful enterprises. More than most people, your failures in marriage can be extremely expensive for you. Despite the difficulties that life presents, you will experience the satisfaction that comes from material wealth and the power that comes with it. Business, finance, real estate, law, science, particularly history, archaeology, and physics, publishing, and management of large institutions are among the vocational fields that suit you best. Now, that does sound very familiar to me. You are naturally attracted to positions of influence and leadership. Being politics, social work, and teaching are among the many other areas where your abilities can shine. The 8 life path, a balance of give and take. You're a good judge of character, which aids you well in attracting the right people to you. Most 8s like large families and sometimes tend to keep others dependent longer than necessary. Although you are not demonstrative in showing your love and affection, the desire for luxury and comfort is especially strong in you. Status is very important. You must be careful to avoid living above your means. Your 8 life path treads that dangerous ground where power lies and can corrupt. You may become too self-important, arrogant, and domineering, thinking that your way is the only way. This leads inevitably to isolation and conflict. The people you run the risk of hurting most are those you love, your family and friends. Be careful of becoming stubborn, intolerant, overbearing, and impatient. These characteristics may be born early in the life of an 8 life path, who often learns these negative traits after suffering under a tyrannical parent or a family burdened by repressive religious or intellectual dogmas. Those with 8 life path usually possess a strong physique, which is a symptom of their inherent strength and resiliency. And again, I posted the link to this in the comments, and it gives you like life path 1 through 33 relatively, which is pretty cool. Your life path is also the most important indicator for relationship compatibility. I gave an example of my life path to give you like details of how it describes things for you, so that you can go ahead and look and check this out on your own. I thought it was pretty cool. And this particular website does a whole bunch of other stuff for you too that I've been kind of dabbling with since I talked with my buddy about it. So I'm going to enjoy the rest of that. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you check the block drops, the news articles from the block drop from tonight. And also I did another episode right before this of memes, thoughts, and quotes for the week. Per usual, that's going to be something that I really will enjoy because it ties in all of the stuff that we have throughout the week that we don't get to necessarily share, and maybe they can spark some topics going forward. You know what I'm saying? So it's been a pleasure. Appreciate y'all. Take care of yourselves. And please go ahead and look up your life number and make sure you subscribe to Leon Block. Have a good evening.
blah, blah.